Yo, what's up? Today we look at the BR3 Soviets. This army features some of the most iconic weaponry of World War II, and as usual for the series I recommend to watch the intro to the German guide because that explains in 10 minutes everything you need to know in general about the BR3 environment. So, starting with the Soviet weapons, we already have one of the best entries, and it's the SVT-38. Now the SVT-38, instantly one of the best semi-auto rifles in BR3, possibly the best or second best, depending how high you rate it relative to the Garand. Reasons for that are, it has some of the best sights in the game, and it gets additional points for having basically the same sights as the Kar98K. So it's very easy to use it. Also, these were mostly the standard sights, the standard iron sights in World War II, because they are provenly the ones that make aiming the easiest and most reliable. And on top of that, it comes with a 10-round magazine, unlike the Garand, which only has 8. And it gets a bayonet for minus 10% vertical recoil. And also very comfy charging and stabbing on short range. Bayonets, out of all weapon types, give you the biggest reach. So even swords have roughly 10% less reach than a bayoneted weapon, making the SVT an auto include. What you can also do is you can, on the soldiers who need to dual wield normal rifles, you can dual wield it with a bolt action of your choice. I recommend the Mosin carbine, which has the exactly same sights. It's exactly the same closed sights. Also basically the same sights as on the Kar98K, making it very easy for you to aim, also very comfy to use different nations if all of your soldiers have basically the same sights on their weapons. Now this is even significantly better than the Winchester, because though the Winchester is one of the 2 best bolt actions in the game, one of the 3 best bolt actions in the game, let's put it this way, it has quite bad sights, and despite being, well, it only has the advantage of being very fast, and the SVT is just faster, and with 10 bullets there's a point in time where having a higher magazine size in a semi-auto rifle becomes just way superior to a bolt action, because bolt actions are just slow but they have high damage, and on longer ranges you need less hits. But if your semi-auto rifle has 10 bullets or even more, it just becomes straight up better than a bolt action. So yeah, SVT the clear winner, absolutely strong, superior standard rifle for your Soviet army. Then what about the sniper rifles? Well, here you get access to the sniper SVT-38, and this is another, you could call it Soviet bias. The Soviets get access to weapons or power levels of weapons, usually 1 tier earlier than the Germans. Yes, for example, to get a semi-auto rifle sniper like this, for the Germans you need to wait until BR4, but the Soviets get it on BR3. To get a semi-auto rifle of that power level, you need also to wait for BR4 on the German side, and the Soviets get it for BR3 again. So the Soviets usually get really strong things 1 tier earlier. Same thing goes for the PPS-43, which would be one of the best BR3 SMGs, but you get it as a BR2 weapon for the Soviets. So it's literally Soviet bias how many weapons, many crucial weapons are tiered, and same thing goes for the sniper. Only downside is the scope isn't that strong. My personal recommendation is you can dual wield this sniper SVT with the Gold Order Sniper SVD, and then you have, because this one has a better range, and then you have basically this weapon on long range and the other one on short range, and congratulations, you have a perfect combo. It's one of the best sniping combos in the game, and also one of the most fun ways to play snipers in the game. Alternatively to that, or in addition to that, you also get the grenade launchers. Now the grenade launchers have one minor downside, and it's the fact that you get access to both types, normal grenade and anti-tank grenade launcher, but the Soviet anti-tank grenade launcher needs to reload manually after every single shot, whereas all other nations automatically reload. Now this makes you slower, because you have to hit the perfect timing yourself, and it's just extremely annoying. And in general, you want to have to do as little clicking as possible and to have to pay attention to as few things as possible in order to perform on the maximum level. Because everything that's unnecessary is just distracting you and wearing you down. And this is exactly what is just annoying as hell. And what it's so annoying, despite this weapon being very strong, especially since most BR3 German tanks aren't well armored. I just use the normal grenade launchers instead, and then I just forego the advantage against tanks, only use it against infantry, but still it's just very annoying. If it doesn't annoy you though, then it's of course an auto-included choice, because this weapon is too good. So yeah, on the grenade launcher and snipers front, the Soviets are also really well positioned. Then what about SMGs? Well, here's the fun part. You basically get only one BR3 SMG because it's the PPSH box, meaning a PPSH but only with 35 bullets and not with 72. Is it worth it? Because, as I already implied, you already get a high power BR3 SMG that's unlockable on BR2. Fun fact, it used to be on BR3. So if you want to save silver and grind, you can just stay with the PPS. If you want to have the maximum overpowered experience, you can also unlock the PPSH and then dual wield. Because the strongest way you can play these dudes is to play a PPSH primary for longer ranges, and then a box that I don't have now left, and then a box PPSH for short range. Because on short range, obviously, the bullet spraying that you get with over 1000 cadence is just insane. It's just absolutely insane. Keep in mind though, obviously, such a high fire rate means you need to hit every single bullet, otherwise you just waste your bullets. And also the damage is low, whereas the PPS 43 has a much higher chance to actually land its bullets on target, which is the reason why it's better on longer ranges. Also, this one also comes with 35 bullets. So yeah, though here's the thing, it's extremely expensive to dual wield them, because SMGs always need to be fully upgraded, because the damage upgrade is absolutely important. Absolutely important. And just only buying PPSs gives you a perfect army for BR2 and still a perfect choice for BR3. Because if you can only play one of these weapons, I would go with the PPS. I would only play the box weapon if it's dual wielded as a secondary. I wouldn't play it alone, so this isn't essential. This is a nice to have upgrade addition if you have too much silver, but if you don't have too much silver, then it's just way too expensive. I'd rather just play this one, the PPS 43, and then wait until I unlock the high BR stuff and then start investing money into these, because these are actually worth it. So yeah. You see, the Soviets have it so good, it's literally luxury problems where you make choices, because you don't even need to make choices, because your BR2 setup is already stronger than what most nations get in BR3. Then, what about the machine guns? Well, here's the fun part. You get a DP27 on BR3, and also the DPM. Now, just pick any of them that you feel more comfortable with regarding aiming and shooting. I chose the DP27 and then just dual wield it with a Madsen. Now why is it so? Very simple. Depending on the, first of all, to not get the ammunition penalty by playing the same weapon twice. And secondly, I came to notice that DP27 is quite good on long range and as a primary. And Madsen is if you need to snipe enemies better, because it's so slow that you can't spray into enemies, but it's worth it because the sights are really good to just use it as a semi-auto rifle. So I'm basically running around using the DP27 as a primary, as a normal machine gun, and the Madsen as a secondary, basically SMG, basically semi-auto substitute. You could change the order logically, though I'd rather have the sprayable weapon first in this case, because for the first enemy soldier it doesn't matter which machine gun you have. And if there's a second one, once you get used to the spray, you can just instantly start spraying into the group. So yeah, but yeah, this is my setup, though here you can do basically whatever you want, because the power level of the Mudson overall isn't so strong that you can say it's absolutely needed to play it like this. So here you have flexibility. You could say the machine guns are the weakest aspect of the Soviet BR3s, which is absolutely true. Not because they're bad, but because the other stuff is just so overpowered strong. Yeah, so these machine guns, I would say, are the third best, so the lower half, because Americans have the absolutely best machine guns on BR3. The Germans have the second best, because 50 bullet MG34 is just too good to be tiered any lower or ranked any lower. And then you can pick between the Japanese one or this one. Yeah, it's a question what you prefer, though. Yeah, it's still quite good. Then for the heavy weapons, we get the Panzerfaust 60. Yes. Now, what's so special about Soviets, by the way? You get an intermediate mortar, which very few nations get. This mortar can be actually playable because it is strong enough to snipe enemy tanks. It's actually strong enough. Because the weak mortar you get in the beginning isn't that good, but this intermediate mortar is good enough. So if you like playing mortars on BR3, the Soviets are the perfect nation. Also combined with the fact that the Germans have quite weakly armored tanks. But most importantly, you get a Panzerfaust 60. And this means your weapon, your BR3 Panzerfaust 60 is just already the best. This is officially the best anti-tank weapon on BR3, since it has an insane penetration. This penetration one-shots most BR5 tanks from the front. Yes, this is how good this thing is. Yeah, it's insanely good. For those wondering why do the Soviets have Panzerfaust 60, simple. The Soviets captured a couple 10,000 Panzerfaust shots on their approach towards Berlin on the Eastern Front, and that's why they use them quite often, because this is obviously better than anything the Soviets had themselves. So yeah, they use them very often, and Panzerfaust is just way too strong. Which is also the reason why you want an anti-tank gunner in every single of your BR3 squads for the Soviets. Same thing goes for the Germans. For the Americans, it's not needed because the bazooka isn't that strong, but the Panzerfaust is just way too strong. Flamethrowers, as usual, not that recommendable because of the short range. APC, very much recommendable. Ironically enough, you have the bazooka. The Land-Lease bazooka, which is just a joke. It literally has 1/3 of the penetration of the Panzerfaust. There you see how bad it is. Now, there's one little cool thing, and it's the fact that you get the second best anti-tank rifle in the game, the PTRS, which is also one of the best semi-auto rifles in the game, because it literally functions with semi-auto. Similar to what I said with the American or British Boys rifle, this is good to have once in your army, because that's how you can easily snipe important structures from far away. Also, if you become very good, you can easily snipe and one-shot enemy planes with this thing, so insanely good. Though the power level of the Panzerfaust is just super high, so what I recommend, if you have 3 squads, 3 infantry squads, have 2 Panzerfausts and 1 PTRS, and then you're perfectly prepared for all types of situations. Next we have the famous duo of the Soviet tanks in KV-1 and T-34. Now you can choose among 3 different T-34s, the standard version or the improved with better armor T-34 1941 version, or the newest addition to the Soviet Tech tree, the long cannoned T-34 57mm version. Out of these 3, the first one is the one you can easily dismiss because it's just straight up worse than the 1941 version, and then you can actually choose the T-34 1941 is the generally better tank because it has, thanks to the bigger caliber, the better HE compared to the 1943 version. But the 1943 version comes with a longer small caliber cannon, meaning your penetration is much better. This means that you can actually successfully engage any German tank from BR3 or lower, and even BR4 German tanks. You only start struggling against the BR5 Tigers, but anything under that you easily one-shot. Easily one-shot, you will always find green areas dueling from the front. And to make it even better for you, you get a significantly improved hull armor of 99. Basically more than doubling your hull armor in the front, making you a really good dueling tank against other tanks. Yeah, this is the Soviet secret weapon against or in tank engagements with the enemy. Alternatively, you can just play the KV-1. Now this KV-1 has basically the same performing weapon as the T-34-41, though it's just weaker. Now the actual choice, if you want to power game, is do you play the anti-tank tank or do you play the anti-infantry tank? Because this KV-1 is significantly better against infantry. It has insane amount of armor basically everywhere 75 millimeters, and it's also, ironically enough, if you try to duel it with a German tank, it's quite hard to actually hit the weak spot, since from far away the turret is quite small. Like the weak spots are quite small, and it takes a really good German tanker to successfully defeat you in a duel. Now the cannon performs very similar to the T-34 1941 version. Now this duo of Soviet tanks basically outperforms all other tanks in all other nations. Like the Germans can play the Panzerfaust, which is really good, has really good armor. But if you want to play a second German tank, yeah, because oftentimes if you lose your first tank, you want to cycle to the next tank, or you just want the flexibility. This duo is just overall better. The Americans, well, their duo is the howitzer tank and the Sherman. And guess what? I'd rather have the two Soviet tanks than these. So yeah, the Soviet tanks are just way too strong because they don't really have downsides. Like the KV-1 is ridiculously strong, ridiculously good, very hard to kill. Even, here's the thing, it's even hard to kill with bombs. You need to place the bombs very close. It's hard to kill with rockets. It's basically impossible to kill with strafing. This is one of the, by the way, against really good enemy teams, this is a significant advantage. Because there's nothing easier than to strafe a tank with a weak top. This tank doesn't have weak tops. It's hard to kill with TNT packs. It easily survives 2 or 3 TNT charges. It's just ridiculously good. Especially against players who don't know the weaknesses of the KV-1. It's almost impossible to kill. I explained them in the German guide, where I talked for like roughly 4 minutes about how to deal with the KV-1s and T-34s, because these tanks are just way too strong. So yeah, absolutely strong tanks and absolutely fun to play. Regarding the planes, it gets a bit more complicated. Well, it's a good sign because it means you can choose among many good planes. Now there are some clear winners. First of all, which fighter plane do you want to play? This is the one clear choice, and it's the P-40E. Now P-40E, obviously a Land-Lease plane, is just, it's basically under-tiered. That's why it's so good. You get it on tier 2, though it's still better than all the Soviet tier 3 fighters. Reason for that are, it comes with, of course I have it here too, it comes with 1 heavy bomb and 2 medium bombs. By the way, significantly better than other similar planes, because other planes come usually with a heavy bomb and 2 small bombs. This one has a heavy and 2 medium bombs, meaning you can actually blow up 2 strong enemy tanks in a row, because you release on 2 different times. First the medium bombs and then the heavy bomb. Also, forged bombs seem to perform a little bit better than normal bombs in the game, so a forged 100 kilogram is roughly like a 150 or 125 kilogram bomb. Then you get 6 heavy machine guns. It's the same principle as in the P-51D that I explained there regarding how they're placed. They're actually placed exactly the same way, so extremely good against enemy planes. And what's even better than in the P-51D, it has an extremely good turn rate. Like 15.50, very fast, one of the best. And it has a really good climb rate, especially for such a moderately slow plane. So if this plane was even 50 kilometers per hour faster, it would easily be tier 4 power level. Yeah, because it's just too good. As an all-round plane, this is way too good. So among the other fighter planes, if you want to use them, you get access to some planes who get, well, you can play the Hurricane from low BR, but this one's just a pain in the ass to fly, because it forces you to automatically pull up. Though its weaponry is insanely good, don't really want to play any other fighter planes. If you want a plane that you can really rely on, this is just exactly the plane you want, because this one deals with all enemy planes and all threats on the ground. Even if you're up tiered, this is one of the best planes the Soviets have against enemy King Tigers, despite being tier 2. All the other tier 3 fighters the Soviets get are just not reliable. For the attackers though, you actually start getting a good choice, because you can pick the A-20 Boston, which is quite slow but has overall quite good stats, or you can pick some of the IL-2s. Now here's the funny part, you actually have so much choice. You can play the low BR ones, but you can also play the high BR ones. High BR ones usually come with either, and this is the one that's easier to fly, either with lots of machine gunning and two medium bombs, and most importantly, 2 37mm cannons. Now these 37mm cannons shred everything. You can see them here. They are really good against enemy planes, obviously, but also against ground targets, and especially against enemy tanks if you strafe them from the top. So this is quite good, though it's painfully slow. This plane is only playable if the sky is safe, because if you engage enemy planes, if the enemy pilot is even remotely intelligent, he's gonna always shoot you down, because you're basically a flying brick. So yeah, if you want to hyper specialize and deal insane amounts of damage, then you can play this plane, the IL-2M Type 3. Now not only does it look quite cool with the red nose, but it is the offensive one. It's one of the most strongest offense planes in the game, even on higher BRs, because A, it comes with 4 medium bombs, and B, with 4 rockets. Now these rockets have really good penetration. Only downside is they are very badly placed far on the wings, so it's hard to aim with them. But if you hit a plane with them, if you hit a tank with them, the tank will explode. And what you can do is you can theoretically kill 3, yeah, you can realistically kill 3 to 4 tanks in one run with this plane. So the theoretical ceiling is ridiculously high, and you can still strafe every ground target with the 23mm. And it even has 150 bullets each. So this autocannon will shoot for a long time. And you also have a little tail gunner. So yeah, though the downside of this plane is it's the brickiest of Soviet brick planes you can imagine. It's slow as hell, has one of the worst climb rates in the game. It's comparable to World War I biplanes, yes, from BR1. And it has one of the worst turn rates in the game. So if this plane is basically, it will take you weeks to really be able to fly and aim with it. And it forces you to play in a 2-stack where your partner is using a fighter plane in the sky to clear the sky. But as long as that's the case, this is a hyper specialized, super high performance plane. Though, since as you can imagine, these are very, very high maintenance environments or situations, there's a way simpler way to play attackers in BR3, and it's just to play the PE2. Now, here's the deal with it. This plane just comes with 6 100kg bombs. It comes with 2 tail gunners. The offensive power against planes is better as it looks. The offensive power on the ground is insane. You can bomb 3 times, 2 medium bombs each. And you have quite a nice tankiness because your plane is huge, meaning you can tank lots of shots. Even if you tanked already a good enough amount of damage, you still will usually survive. And if the enemy does the mistake of getting even remotely close to your tail gunners, then he's dead. Keep in mind, if you're being chased from behind, this tail gunner can't shoot horizontally back. So you want, if you're getting chased, start flying upwards so this tail gunner can actually shoot the target behind. If you do the mistake of flying this plane like a normal plane and hoping the tail gunner does something, it won't work. So always start flying upwards so the tail gunner becomes active, and these side machine guns can also be quite useful if you do an upwards and then sideways maneuver at the same time. Regarding the flying characteristics, it's not fast, but it's not slow, it's medium. The climb rate though is very low, which is disenergetic with the strategy of the machine gunner positioning, but still okay. And the turn rate is possibly the worst in the whole game. Yeah, this, though it feels like a brick, it doesn't fly that bad as an IL-2 tree, because yeah, overall it flies more graciously, I would say, because it's overall faster. So yeah, this plane is just the overall safest bet if you want a reliable all-around plane. Now, ironically enough, the Soviets have so many planes to choose from that you can pick some special cases. You can basically pick a Soviet plane exactly to your strengths and preferences. For example, I just showed you the two overall significantly strongest planes you can pick regarding how you will perform in realistic games. If you want a plane if you want an attacker plane that's less annoying to fly but a little bit weaker, you can just play the BR2 Su-2. This one also comes with 6 100-kilogram bombs. And it comes with a similar speed, with a similar climb rate, but one of the best turn rates you can get. And the only downside is that your machine gunning is much weaker. So, but still, having 4 normal machine guns in the front, it's not that bad. It's absolutely not that bad. So this Su-2 is basically a much easier to use version than this PE2. Though due to the machine guns and the lack of heavy machine guns, overall a bit weaker and less reliable against enemy planes. Though if you're good at maneuvering and taking turns, then the ridiculously good turn rate of 15 seconds is absolutely worth it. So these were the planes. You see, it's quite complicated. It's a bit boring to listen to, but this is exactly the information you want to hear in 10 minutes or 15 minutes, because getting this information yourself will take you months to play and try out planes and also experience in the game. So this was quite helpful. Now what about the squads to play? Very simple. The Soviet equipment is so strong that there are some squads you really want to play to power game, and then other squads of your liking. Machine guns overall very good, though for the Soviets they're not that necessary, because for the Soviets in BR3 the assaulters are just the strongest you can play. Their SMGs are just so overpowered, there's basically no reason to not include them. So this is basically a must include. And then you of course want an APC, because the maps for the Soviets are similar, that you always want an APC. Generally speaking, no matter which nation you're playing, you always want an APC. There's not a single nation, not a single environment where it would be useful to not have an APC in another squad instead. It's always you want an APC. So you really want one assaulter, one APC squad, and then basically whatever you like, because you're gonna have enough power anyway. And if you have additional slots, then yeah, just put in whatever you want. Machine gunners are okay. You can actually play flamethrower squads for the Soviets in BR3, because you build them in a way that you have 2 assaulters. I don't have them right now, but just build them in a way that you have 2 assaulters, 2 flamethrowers, 2 grenade launcher soldiers, and then congratulations. The assaulters will be really good for the situations where the flamethrowers aren't, and the power level just comes by itself. So yeah, this is quite useful. Machine gun engineers can be also good, because the Soviet structures are just really good. Though if you really want an engineer squad, I'd rather play a machine gunner squad, since the Soviet HMG is the best in the whole game. It has insane precision and an insane fire rate. And really good angles. It's even better than the... It's arguably better than the Soviet anti-air gun, because it can... Due to its angle, it can reliably shoot down planes. So, yeah, like, this is a good argument for the machine gun squad over an engineer squad. And regarding the vehicles, yeah, if you only play one tank, just play the KV-1. It's just a no-brainer, it's so good. If you're free-to-play account, and if you have multiple vehicle slots, you can start including any of these planes. Out of experience, most players underestimate the Soviet fighters, because they don't really have that many good fighters, and most people think, oh, I won't play the P-40E, it's just to be a 2 plane. Yep, and that's why you constantly see IL-2s spammed in your team. So the attacker plane slot will be taken most of the time, but the fighter slot won't. So yeah, having this as a secondary vehicle is really good, and then you can just start filling up more tanks and more attacker planes. And regarding the other squads, well, anti-tank gunner squads can be, like, you can play them for fun, but there's no need to. Like, the biggest reason to play them is that you can just play a squad with 2 PTRSs and 1 Panzerfaust, and then you can just snipe things from far away. This is very fun, but since the anti-air guns got buffed and can finally snipe on horizontal angles, I'd rather use them for sniping than anti-tank rifles. So yeah, but it's still quite fun and viable. Well, we already get assaulters, engineers and flamethrowers. Medics are as bad as usual. Mortars, as we said, thanks to the medium mortar, the Soviet mortar squad is actually playable. Paratroopers are quite useful, especially since the Soviet paratroopers can cheat on their paratrooper box and get quite the strong equipment that is stronger than BR3. Especially in lower BRs, it's quite useful. So yeah, also they're quite nice to have in Berlin, where jumping around the map is very helpful. And paratroopers, thanks to their paratrooper box and the hammer inside the box, you get an engineer that can build all structures. So if you don't have an engineer squad or something that can build engineer structures overall, a paratrooper squad can do exactly that. Though it takes a while, because you need to spawn in the air, then jump down to your box and then whip out the hammer and then start building stuff. But still, it's like the flexibility of a paratrooper squad is just huge. Then, for the remaining squads, we have Radio Man. Well, here's the sad truth. Since the rocket artillery that was introduced recently is just ridiculously weak, against the expectations of basically everyone, they're not that good. Like, people thought that the rocket artillery would be a game changer. No, it wasn't. The supply drop is also not a game changer, because it's so annoying to use and badly implemented that no one's ever using it. And yeah, anything else also is just bad. So yeah, they're not that useful. The only good things they can give you is just to be like a sniper squad that you sit in the background, but still not that good. Rifle squads, very good, because you can just either dual wield grenade launchers, or you can spam SVTs on them. And a 9-man squad with SVTs is, yeah, as good as you think. The bots are gonna get all the kills. Sniper squad, also ironically enough, good for the Soviets, because if you get yourself the combo, I recommend it. And especially if you get yourself a bunch of gold order SVDs, this is just very fun to play and also very strong. So similar to the Americans, quite useful or quite viable to play sniper squads for the Soviets. And that's it. Yeah, you see, Soviets are quite easy and straightforward. They just have overpowered equipment. They just have overpowered equipment, and the only choices that are really complicated are among the planes, and anything else is very straightforward. So yeah, let me know what you think about my Soviet evaluation and how you play your armies. And next time we're going to talk about the last nation, the Japanese.